history, and as we promised last month, we are going to be talking about shipping.
Yeah, because February, Valentine's Day, it seemed like the right month.
Even though both of us, for different reasons, are not fans of the holiday.
Well, my reason is more pragmatic than yours, because bad stuff tends to happen to me on Valentine's Day. Not related to love, but like, I hurt myself, or family issues spring up. So, I used to actually just hide in my room all day. I've gotten over that, but I'm still very cautious so that the trend does not continue. You just don't like it because you don't have a boyfriend.
Partially true, I also think it's overrated. Seriously, you don't need one day out of the 365 days of the year to show a significant other how much you care
Dude,
about
you get
them.
chocolate from people. Never, ever, ever disrespect that.
Okay, that's the one good thing about Valentine's Day. Although I ain't getting any chocolate this year.
I did.
I just got flowers. But flowers are nice.
They are. They are. They are.
Anyway, so we're going to be talking about 4 different couples. Not all of them are going to be from previous topics we talked about, but
Like, we're gonna try to do that in the future, but we don't really have a lot of a pool of choice. So, and we didn't really feel like doing a Harry Potter one, for example, so we just picked from things we liked. In the future, hopefully next year when we have a bigger audience, you guys can actually suggest or vote or something, and we can do it based on that. But for now, we just picked ones that we had stuff we were confident we could talk about.
and so we're going to start out the month with a Star Wars couple. So for our Star Wars couple, we are going to be talking about Anakin Skywalker and Padme Amidala.
Yeah, because that pairing is what caused pretty much everything, if you think about
It is. So we're going to start with a brief history of the couple.
it. Yeah, we're gonna, like with our regular character videos, we are going to separate this into sections. So first we're gonna obviously, tell you who it is we're talking about and where they're from. Then we're gonna get into their backstory, what was canon for them, all that stuff. Then we're gonna get into general fan reaction, then our opinions, and then we're gonna discuss how likely, realistically speaking, this pairing was to happen or last, or, whatever terminology works, because as we said, some of them are going to be canon, some of them are going to be non-canon. So yeah. So for Anakin and Padme's backstory, they met on Tatooine when he was 10 and she was 14. He helped her in the Jedi, escorting her get off. They went to Coruscant. He had a crush on her. He called her an angel. She thought he was a cute kid, but I don't really think thought too much otherwise.
No, because he was a little boy.
Yeah. And someone that she wanted to help is, slave.
Mm-hmm.
But, then there was everything that happened on Naboo when they went to save it from the Trade Federation, but they didn't really interact at all during that. Although he was shocked to find out she was the queen and not just a handmaiden.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing really much was gone into that, how he felt about it. At least not in the movies. Maybe in a book I haven't read.
But the big couple interaction that we see from them doesn't happen until Attack of the Clones, which is set 10 years later.
Yeah, where he's been, thinking about her, since then, which is honestly a little creepy.
Yeah.
But, and Padme really hasn't.
No, and when she sees him for the first time, she's genuinely surprised at how he grew up.
Well, obviously, he's taller than her now.
Yeah.
Well, she's kind of short, so that's not really a hard accomplishment. But that's besides the point. So he's assigned to be her bodyguard. Um, they wind up going to Naboo, and then going to the lake country in Naboo, while Obi-Wan goes off to investigate who's trying to assassinate her. So they have a few moments on Naboo. Padme, being smart, is like, this is a bad idea, and tries to get out of it. Anakin isn't exactly on board with that plan, and
No, and there are little things that happened in that time that she didn't necessarily say no to.
well, the thing was, they did have moments, and they did kiss a couple of times, and there was some, like, stuff, but there's also little moments that showed how much they wouldn't actually work as a couple, I thought, but we'll get into that in a later section. So they wind up going to Tatooine because of Anakin's nightmares about his mother.
And his mother, the visions turned out to be true, and he's unable to save her. His mother does die, which is always sad to see.
Then he goes crazy and kills all those Tusken Raiders, tells Padme, who comforts him. Then they go to Geonosis to save Obi-Wan, who sent them a message saying, "Help me, I'm captured."
Which,
Or I'm about to. Well, not exactly that, because he's not captured yet, but he's like, I've found where they are, but this is a bit too big for me to handle on my own. Please send backup.
and Padme's idea is, let's go save him ourselves.
So Anakin, because his job is to follow her around and guard her, has to accompany her.
Yes, and he was against this, I might add.
Yeah, so then they get to Geonosis, a whole bunch of stuff happens, and they get captured. When they get brought out into the arena where they're to be executed, she's like, you know, we're gonna die anyway, might as well. So she tells him that she loves him, they kiss, they get out there. Anakin and Obi-Wan snark at each other for a bit, they fight the beasts set to kill them.
And then more Jedi reinforcements show up.
And then a whole bunch of stuff happens there. Anakin can't go save Padme because she falls off the ship they're riding in. And then he goes with Obi-Wan to fight Dooku. He loses an arm. At the end of the movie, he and Padme do in fact get married.
With R2 and 3PO being the witnesses.
Yes. And then, well, I guess there's everything that happened in the Clone Wars
Yep. And
after that.
there weren't necessarily big moments between them in the Clone Wars. They were all small things, but
Mostly with them, you know, sneaking around behind pretty much everyone's backs. They'll bring her dinner. They'll hang out at her apartment.
they'll have little interactions like when it's Jedi business, because the Jedi and the Senate, they do still work alongside each other.
There's also some instances where he wants the two of them to just get away for a while, but she won't do it because she's got responsibilities.
And there is...
And then there's when she's personally in danger from something, he goes a bit overprotective. So then there's also what deeply, I think, affected their standing with each other was everything that happened with a character named Rush Clovis, who Padme was romantically involved with, but that was long before she and Anakin ever got together. So there's nothing wrong with her having a relationship previous to her stuff with Anakin.
No.
But Anakin, he doesn't like it.
No, he gets extremely jealous.
Of every little interaction. And like, to an extent, I think it's appropriate because Rush Clovis being aware that Padme is with anyone, period, let alone that she's married, is obviously gonna flirt, because this is his ex, who is beautiful, and who he is still kind of attracted to, so I get he's gonna flirt. And I get that because he doesn't have all the pieces, Anakin's gonna be jealous. He takes it to a level that's not really...
It's not okay.
Yeah, like, he leaves Rush Clovis to, like, possibly die in the series proper. After Padme gets poisoned, he just abandons him there, which he survives, but it's still not really cool.
No.
Because there's the people who did try to poison Padme, and, like, they could have done anything but Clovis.
Yeah, she wasn't the happiest about that.
No. So I think that's all we see of him in the series. It's been a while since I've seen it, so I could be wrong. But the next time we see him, it's during that season that only ever aired on Netflix.
Yes, because after season 5 of the Clone Wars, which ended with Ahsoka leaving the Jedi Temple, the show was canceled. But there were...
That was because Disney bought Star Wars and Clone Wars was airing on Cartoon Network. So yeah, but some episodes of another season had been finished. So it was Netflix
when
put
they
them up, and that's how you can see them now.
Mhm.
You can also buy them on DVD, but that's not the point.
Yeah, but so we see Rush Clovis again in this season, and again more interaction with Anakin, and of course Padme, which makes Anakin even more jealous. And he tries to be more controlling this time. Like he says, "I'm your husband. You should listen to me," and all that. And they don't necessarily break up.
But there's this incident where he actually beats Clovis up.
Mm-hmm.
It is like, well, he was trying to kiss Padme, but she was saying no. And then Anakin showed up, and it was a huge mess. And while he had a right to be upset about that, he took it too far. Then some security showed up, and Clovis did in fact cover for Anakin, and then he left, and then Padme and Anakin had this huge talk, and because she's not happy with how he acted, and
And this is hard for both of them, mind you, but Anakin is definitely taking this way out of line.
yeah.
So they don't break up, like I said, but
They go on a break.
they go on a
She's
break.
like, we need space from each other.
But then later, more bad things happen to her. Basically,
Well, to give a bit of a backstory, if I may cut in, she and Clovis are working together because he's part of the Bacon clan, and there's something up with the Bacon clan. So the two of them are investigating it, and then a meeting between the separatists is also set up because it's the Bacon clan, so everyone's doing stuff with them. So yeah, and it does result in Clovis taking over. So good stuff. Because again, he's part of the Bacon clan, so he is in line for it. So, but through Padme personally going to investigate, some things happen.
So, during the investigation, Padme actually ends up getting arrested, and during this, her handmaiden gets killed, and guess who has to bail her out?
Well, who comes to do it? Because I'm sure a lot of people could have come to do it.
True, but guess who comes to bail her out? It's Anakin.
And when the door opens for him, they do this thing with his shadow, and it looks just like Vader.
Talk about foreshadowing.
Yeah, and that conversation, not helped by the fact she's wearing the same outfit she wears on Mustafar, is not a pleasant one. He is very disrespectful.
Yeah, so the best place in their relationship right now.
No.
Not a good time for either of them.
I mean, they do kind of reconcile by the end of it because he saves her life. And, traumatic moments and all that, but and I don't know what's going to happen in the apparently new season of Star Wars Clone Wars that's coming out, but we'll have to wait and see. But then it's the third movie where she's pregnant, reveals it to him, he's ecstatic.
But
They have some very cheesy lines together, but apparently I've saw a video of this on YouTube. So actually, the original plan, I don't know when this changed, was that Padme was faking most of the affection. Because she knew how close Anakin was to Sidious. And on Mustafar, she was actually supposed to try to kill him. Although she did in fact still love him, so she would go through with it, but that was the original plan, which I thought was interesting. Which also explains why she was fat ass and such cheesy lines, because she was faking it.
Mm-hmm.
But what really happened was, well, people are like, I don't know why she wasn't more active. She was heavily pregnant. How active could she have been?
Yeah, there's not much a woman can do when she's heavily pregnant.
They get like all upset because she was all emotional.
She's
That's also
pregnant.
another pregnant thing. You get emotional when you're pregnant. Your hormones are going crazy. So yeah. But then she finds out what Anakin did to the younglings, which obviously upsets her. And she goes to Anakin and Mustafar, and unbeknownst to her, Obi-Wan stowed away. They have a bit of a moment, but she doesn't like what he's doing. She doesn't agree with what he's doing, so she's like, just run away with me. Then Obi-Wan appears, and Anakin thinks that choking out his pregnant wife is a wise move.
Yeah,
so down she goes. Obi-Wan wins the fight that ensues with Anakin, and he gets Padme to a nearby medical facility where she goes into induced labor, gives birth to Luke and then Leia. Then she dies, and there's a lot of arguments on what killed her. Like, the doctor's like, she's just losing the will to live.
Because they say physically she's fine, which she's not.
Yeah, so I've read a lot of different theories though. Some say Palpatine took Padme's life force and gave it to Anakin. That's one popular theory. Another theory I read somewhere, which I'm inclined to believe, is, so these are droid doctors, not human doctors, so when they noticed that Padme's neck didn't have any, like, bruise marks on it, they didn't check. So they missed seeing, like, well, again, this is a popular theory, I don't know how canon it is, but she had a broken trachea or something, but they couldn't tell because on the outside she looked fine in that area. So that's what killed her, they said. What theory says anyway. Which I'm inclined to believe, because
it makes sense. It's logical. And so, yeah, then Anakin becomes Darth Vader. He asks Palpatine, is Padme safe? And Palpatine says, you killed her in your rage. And
Anakin, Vader, whatever you want to call him at that point, is not happy.
No.
And then, he's still loyal to Palpatine. And, there is, in a comic, which I haven't read yet, he built his castle on Mustafar with the idea that he could resurrect Padme, and he tries, but he ultimately fails. And and then all that's left of Padme is Luke and Leia.
The twins.
Yeah. So that's pretty much their relationship in a nutshell. We heavily summarized parts of it, because we'd be here for a lot longer if we didn't.
Yeah.
So I guess next section is fan reaction to it.
Now, if we're going off just the movies alone, then a lot of fans didn't receive the couple very well.
Because it does explain some of Anakin's actions, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But the actors didn't have a lot of chemistry together, and their dialogue wasn't always that good.
Yeah, which is interesting because a lot of people say Hayden Christensen was a horrible Anakin, and at the same time, look at the lines he's given.
Yeah, like, I've even seen reviews where they're like, that if you look at the moments where he doesn't have lines, he does sell it, so.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was more the lines, and like a lot of them had bad lines. Like look at Mace Windu, he had some terrible lines, but it's Samuel L. Jackson, so no one really says anything about it.
Yeah, because it's Samuel L. Jackson and he's badass.
Yeah. But moving on, so fan reaction wasn't very positive to that. Some people, yes, did love it, as the sheer amount of fanfics can attest to.
Yeah. So movie-wise alone, the fans didn't receive it very well.
The opinion did I think become more favorable with the inclusion of the Clone Wars cartoon because it showed more little moments with them, and there wasn't any issues with the same lack of chemistry because it's not actors this time. So I think things got more favorable after that point.
And you did see them together and watch them interact, even though you could tell they still had to be careful because no one could know they're married, but...
Yeah, but it wasn't like all big life-threatening moments that we saw them in anymore, or like a couple scenes. It was a lot more, and a lot more smaller moments, like him coming back to the house after being away for a while and bringing her dinner.
And that gave us actual chemistry, which is something the movies couldn't give us.
Well, not couldn't, did.
More like didn't, yes, sorry.
So then let's move on to our opinion. So, okay, our opinion is a bit mixed.
Mm-hmm.
So, on the one hand, we both very much feel that, especially at the beginning, it wasn't love, it was lust.
Yes, because they haven't seen each other in a long time. When she sees him again, he's grown up and she's beautiful. He's grown into a good-looking young man, and I mean,
well, he mostly just talks about how beautiful she is.
And he talks about how beautiful she is. So that's again lust.
Yeah.
More than love.
And
the whole thing was just rushed into, and keep in mind when they get married and when all this happens, he's only 19 years old.
So they've been interacting with each other after 10 years of not seeing each other for like maybe a month at the most.
At least from what I saw of him in the movies, and given that he's only 19 years old, he still had a lot of growing up to do.
Yeah, he didn't seem emotionally mature enough to do more than date.
Mm-hmm.
Padme, well, she was very mature and responsible. That's kind of her job, so that's a different story. And she does tell him in one scene, it'd be living a lie and it would destroy us. And it did in fact do that.
And she even said, "Is that what you want?" And he said, "No."
Apparently it was. And there's even in the show, which gave their relationship more depth, I thought, there was still, like, the strain on it was obvious, because they couldn't interact like a normal husband and wife, and she did put her duties first, which she did warn him in the beginning she would be doing.
Mm-hmm. But again, they still ended up going through with it.
There wasn't, I think, a healthy amount of respect in that relationship. Because, so in the first one, well, not the first one, in Attack of the Clones, well, as I said earlier in the video, while their time at Lake Vicario did show their moments and attraction, it did also show a couple moments where the relationship wouldn't work. One big moment of this was when they discovered their very, very opposing political views. She was very for democracy. He was more into a dictatorship. And they did get into a bit of I don't want to say an argument about it, but it was a discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Where neither of them ever conceded to the other's point.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think very much set up a foundation for their relationship to an extent.
Yes. So.
And then there's so I've read a few things that have pointed this out, where, so Padme, she comforted Anakin after he killed the Tusken Raiders. And then on Mustafar, she disagreed with him. She didn't support him. And she told him to his face that she thought he was wrong and that she wouldn't follow him down this path. He got angry and physically attacked her.
Yeah. So through their interactions, at least some of them, you could definitely see that this relationship was set up to fail.
Last section is, well, in this case, I guess, if Padme had lived, would they have lasted? And did they make sense while she was alive? So, to an extent, yes, they made sense because they were in love. But in any relationship, friendship, romantic, familial, love, while an important factor,
Is not enough alone.
no, you need respect and trust and a ton of other things that they were lacking in. They had the love and they had the physical attraction. But again, that's not enough.
No. There was clearly a lack of respect, especially from Anakin.
Yeah. Or at least he showed it more.
Mm-hmm.
But it got to the point where, like I said, they had vastly different outlooks on how the world should run,
Mm-hmm.
which was always going to come and interfere, I guess.
And, well, there are couples who have vastly different opinions that work out. There's always at least some kind of middle ground between
And,
them.
a big thing with them, I thought, and I've read about some people that also saw this, and they've written about it, that so when Anakin killed the Tusken Raiders, Padme comforted him. Obviously, he liked that. But when he killed the younglings and betrayed the Jedi, she told him that she thought he was wrong and that she couldn't follow him down this path.
And what does he do? He physically attacks her.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it's like, it makes you think, and I'm not saying this is how he actually saw it, but it does show that, it does make that interpretation there that he only liked her as a pretty thing to look at and as someone who could love him. So when she didn't support him, he attacks her. That's not okay. And even if that's not really how he saw it, he still attacked his very pregnant wife. That's not okay.
It's sad that she did die, but it's a miracle that the twins even survived because...
Well, because, I mean, like, you attack the pregnant lady, she's more likely to recover than the babies inside her.
But in this case, she died and the babies were perfectly healthy.
If a bit premature, but that's kind of normal with twins.
Mm-hmm.
So I've also read a lot of fanfics where she lives. So let's examine that a bit. So there are two avenues. One, she lives and Anakin never becomes Vader. That we can discuss anyway. And one, she lives and he does become Vader. So if he hadn't become Vader, as some fanfics depict, do you think their relationship could have lasted?
I think there could have been ways that maybe they could have tried to work it out.
Okay.
I mean,
the war would end eventually, which would ease the strain off their relationship to an extent.
and they'd still have their kids, so...
Alright, I can see your point. So, but what if, she'd somehow survived the stuff that happened on Mustafar? Because that is the subject of a lot of fanfics, most of which are actually very good.
In which case he did become Darth Vader, then... I honestly don't know, because she even told Obi-Wan there's still good in him, and I think that...
Well, just because there's still good in the guy doesn't mean you want to still be with him.
Very good point, but I don't think so.
Well, a common thread in the fanfics where they both are still alive is she joins the rebellion. He eventually finds out his wife is not dead, and then he pursues. Which does make a lot of sense because he is a possessive dude, and that's his wife.
Mm-hmm.
But how successful he is in his pursuing varies, especially even if he does happen to catch her. You know, it's a common theme in that is she's his prisoner and she's not happy about it.
Well, don't think she'd ever be willing, because, I mean, that's what all she would be, is his prisoner, I feel like. And she doesn't, at least in my opinion, that's not something she'd want.
No, unless he does, like, heavy duty changing. He's not the man that she fell in love with, and he's adamant to a lot of other people that he's not Anakin Skywalker anymore, so.
So why would she want that?
Yeah, so I think as long as he'd remained Darth Vader in any of these what-if stories, they're never gonna be together again unless she's changed a lot, which I see as less likely.
Definitely.
So, at the end of it, like, their relationship, it could have improved if it was given more time and less of a stressful atmosphere. But as it was in canon, it was riddled with issues. And they weren't really ready to get married, I think. And their relationship was based more on lust than love. And
it was
physical attraction is important in a relationship. A relationship can't last without that. But
yes.
You need more, and I thought they were lacking in the more department.
So the whole thing, at least to me, it just felt very forced.
Yeah.
So, in ways it could have worked, and in ways it definitely doesn't work. And yes,
but it is important to the
important
movie series,
to
and the movie series would. Anakin, he needed a love interest at the very least, or Luke and Leia would never have been born.
Yes,
so that was important. That was very important. And Padme on her own, I liked her as a character.
But taking the general plot of everything out of account and just looking at their relationship, big parts of it did not work.
Yeah. Given time, it probably could have, but it was never given the proper room to grow. Which is also why I think it was more well received on the Clone Wars cartoon, because it was given a bit more room to grow. You saw them in a relationship more, and all that stuff.
Yes.
So, that is our opinion on this ship.
Yep. So, what do you guys think? Do you feel the same way about them? Did you like them a little more? Do you think that maybe they never should have happened? Did you actually like them? Did you think they were too messed up for each other?
What are your opinions?
What do you think of them?
Comment below, and we'll see you in our next shipping video. So, see you soon. Bye.
Bye.